everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and of course we're joined by author and economic analyst here at WAM, John Sneisen. And you may notice the beautiful view behind us. We are in Yellowstone National Park in, of course, Wyoming, and we are, I think this would be Yellowstone Lake Yellowstone right behind us, and it's a beautiful sight. Unfortunately, the story that we're telling you today isn't that cheery because as this article shows in the Stars Tribune, Casper experienced Wyoming's largest population drop during the bust, and there's a lot of issues with oil pricing. And John, can you go into exactly what is currently affecting Wyoming?
Yeah, well, what's hurting most of the producers here on, like in the Bakken field and in South Dakota and all these oil producing places in North America is that the cost of oil is so much higher than the current price. So what you're seeing is a big failure in the oil economies around the world. And of course, Wyoming is heavily dependent. It's one of the most dependent on oil in the country, and it's actually the worst economy in all of the United States actually right now.
Wow.
And this is
I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have either, but I did some research, and I found this out by looking around online and looking at different news articles and different numbers. And one of the most interesting things is that Wyoming's population fell by 1,054. It's not a crazy number, but what's interesting about what happened is they had the biggest move out of the state since 1990, and that's quite substantial actually. We're looking at the biggest move in 26 years.
Yeah.
So it's quite insane what's happening. And of course, being a big oil producer, having the current price being around like 44, 45 a barrel, it's way under. And I do believe, don't quote me wrong on this, but I do believe the production price is around 50, like the bare minimum that they need. So now they're actually producing with a loss, and of course my home country Norway as well, and a whole array of other countries are suffering because of these massive low oil prices. But it also has to do with that there's so little demand. We're actually in a depression here worldwide, and people are not seeing it. Like the population is going down because they're using less energy, they're getting older, and what we're seeing is just a natural kind of drop while they need to produce this oil. Some countries like Venezuela and others are so dependent on the oil income that they have to keep on producing in order to actually keep their governments running.
And of course, part of that dependency is also based on the fact that they don't have much of a choice but to be dependent because there's so little innovation. And when there's so little innovation, we have to look at the reason behind that. And of course, that's largely because of the market manipulation. So the taxes and regulations push the competition out of the market, push the small businesses out of the market, stop new ideas from coming up. And that's such a beautiful thing to see, but we don't see that at the rate that we should anymore due to the fact that the government has to put their hands in everything. And of course, we talk all the time about the central planning and the monetary system. Well, it's just manipulation all over the board, from markets to monetary system. And would you say that Wyoming is, for lack of a better term, on the edge of a cliff, kind of like we are at this very moment?
Yeah, I would say so. They're really struggling, and they're going to continue to struggle because I see the oil price going further down because there's more first of all, the OPEC that runs the oil price, the cartel itself, like a criminal cartel that they are, all these Gulf countries and all the major producers, what they're doing is they of course want the oil price to go up, so they're trying to limit demand, limit production because they can't limit demand, of course. But the problem is that they continuously have other people that are not willing, and that's what I came back to again. Like they need income for their governments. They're dependent on it. They would, bankrupt their governments if they didn't have that income. So of course, we're gonna see a huge decline. And I believe the oil price, like I said, the oil price will probably stabilize around 35 for a while back. It went down to actually 28, and then it kind of slowly went up back to 50s. But then it came back down again because people believe that, the oil price will go up to 200, whatever. I said, when the experts in Norway said that the oil price would go up to 100, I said they're going to go down to 35 minimum. And then, of course, they did that. They went below it. And then, of course, the experts that have been looking at the oil price in Norway for so many years, they didn't see that coming. But you gotta look at something else than just the supply and demand chain. You could actually look at what's happening with the population.
Yeah.
Like we have this demographic clip upon us, and it's a natural way of life. Like this is the way, like the cycles in human lives are. When a population is aging, it stops spending and stop using so much energy. So of course you're going to get less demand for the energy, and then of course they keep on producing because they need that income. So it's like a vicious cycle. They're going to just continue doing this until this something is going to break somewhere, and we might see, of course, if hyperinflation and things like that kicks in. Of course, oil is going to go beyond anything because it's still a commodity. We still need it, like everything here. Like we got cars running past us all the time here. All these guys are, using gasoline that comes from oil. So of course, like the world is not going to stop. But then, of course, what's going to happen is we're done. Like the whole economy is done. But I think coming back to like the oil and everything, I think like them being an oil country, they're going to suffer in the short term right now for sure. But of course, in the long term, people always need commodities, so they're always going to be needed. It's not that it's going to completely collapse like Detroit. Wyoming is still going to be around because there's going to be people driving cars and buses and whatever it is for a very long time.
Absolutely. Well, I want to get you to give us the bottom line right away, because weirdly enough, we are what elevation right now?
Well, we're about 2,400 meters above sea level.
We're basically on top of a mountain right now, folks. And
we're getting low on oxygen doing our report.
And weirdly enough, I'm getting eaten alive by mosquitoes. And I never would have thought that in this kind of weather, this high up, that there were so many mosquitoes. But
they're everywhere, Joe.
I get surprised all the time. So, John, what is the bottom line that you could tell people when it comes to what they need to do? I suppose you could say solutions that involve, self-responsibility and, self-sustainability and sound money and etc.
Well, first of all, for the Wyoming people, you guys need to not be dependent on one commodity, one sector in order to, run your economy. You have to, like, this is the problem with so many commodity, like states or provinces, wherever they are. They're just completely dependent on this one sector. And then, of course, when that sector goes down, it's like complete havoc on the society.
Well, and we have to get rid of the government stranglehold, obviously, because that's what obviously pushes people into that dependability in the first place. So we need to get rid of this regulatory stranglehold that's also pushing people into that direction and have more innovation, which means more competition, which means more business, more employment, more higher wages, etc., etc., etc. That all comes not from government, but from self-responsibility, creativity, and then taking advantage of every opportunity. And right now we are in a system where obviously the government controls everything we do. Everything we do, from eating to getting up in the morning to the tags on our pillows that tells us that we can't cut them off. I mean, there's regulations for everything, there's taxes for everything, and we need to get out of that system so that we can be self-sustainable, food, water, shelter, be able to take care of ourselves, which the government does not like, because that means we're not in servitude to them. And we need the sound money of gold, silver, decentralized currencies, cryptocurrencies, etc., etc. So we need to get off of this grid and stop looking to government to solve the problem and start looking to ourselves as individuals. And I think that would be a good way to finish off this report, John.
Yeah, there are the people in Wyoming are themselves the solution to what's happening. They just got to start innovating and create new sectors and just diversify themselves. Like, it's so important. Like, when you think about, they talk about investment and diversifying yourself. Well, it's exactly the same in your economy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think that's a good way to roll it up, and I think it's incredible, the views that we have behind us, and we should take it in. We are heading to the Red Pill Expo in Bozeman, Montana right away. If we have internet access, we'll get this report up as soon as possible. If it's a little late, we are sorry, because it's really hard to get internet access in the middle of nowhere. But it's not really nowhere. It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen, that's for sure. I've seen a few places around the world, and this Yellowstone, incredible. We just saw Old Faithful, and it can't be oversaid or overstated. It's just a beautiful place. Yeah. So thanks for talking with us about this, John, and check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, we can't do without you. Any donation is very much appreciated, especially as we are so overly demonetized and censored by, of course, YouTube here at WHAM. Also, check our address for Bitcoin in the description in the comments, as well as on the screen for you to scan if you please. And we don't have any affiliates for you today, so I'll just say check me out at Josh Sigurdson on Steemit, and let's keep keep track of everything that's going on and try and make the world a better place as individuals, not collectives. And I think we can finish it there. Thanks, John. This is Josh Sigurdson and John Sneisen signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.